Hello guys, this is Branded Player 23 and today we are talking about the 7 cards that Branded needs right now to become meta relevant in the 2026 competitive season. Yes, I know there is already a Dracotel variant messing people up, but I'm used to play the pure branded version or pure branded Despia. So we're talking about that today. Before we start, remember these points are product of my analysis and they could be as right as they could be wrong. So let me know if you think these are accurate or if you feel there are any other cards that can be relevant or needed in branded in 2026. Without further ado, let's get right into the video. Let's get something out of the equation. Some cards have already been announced to drop this upcoming fall around the time the new branded deck comes out. One of them is the Stigmata Devouring Dragon, which helps with the following problem that branded faces constantly. The first problem is recycle cards or fusions from the removal or graveyard. Branded has ways to add cards from graveyard in the form of Guiding Quem for some monsters, as long as they mention Falling of Albas. In Sprengen's kit, that allows us to get our branded spells and traps from deck, graveyard, or removal as long as we put one card from our hand back into it. Branded Retribution also will return two Albus fusions from the graveyard to the deck, but because of how fast the game has become, this effect may have a higher cost for setting up against most strategies, with the exception of Nadir's Servant. The newest Agmatica Alba system, it's about to arrive, but its summoning seems more like a gimmick effect rather than a meta strategy. If we find a way to make into one maybe or 1.5 turn summon, we will still be looking at a problem of getting cards back from banishment, since it only focuses on monsters in the graveyard. Is that something we can do now? Well, we can, in the form of Lubellion this year in Dragon. But the restrictions we have with Lubellium are tough. First, we will have to use it to summon a level 8 or lower fusion monster. So that makes monsters like Despian, Priskenian, or Light and Darkness Dragonlord out of the equation. Top of that, it is mostly single-handedly used to special summon Mirror Jade, the Iceblade Dragon, and is not a drawback on its own. It's just a primary way we use Lubellion for starters. So it is not considered a card we can rely on to bring back monsters from the removal. There is so much you can do to bring back a fusion monster and an Albus back, bring out a Midder. For perspective, the current best deck, or best fusion deck, Dracotail, can return as many fusion materials as they use from hand to make our Althalion. This is a trigger effect with no other cost. Right here is where Stigmata Devouring Dragon comes in handy. At no cost for his effect, you can shuffle 2 cards from graveyard or banishment into the deck. It doesn't say it has to be fusion summoned specifically, which on its own makes it a powerful effect. It synergizes with Guiding Quem since it can bring back from graveyard. Bear in mind the added value of being able to interrupt your opponent's plays by shuffling monsters into the deck. Pretty powerful. I'm looking at you, Dracotail. I'm coming for you. Also Jummy. Number 2, a new tower. Branded has one of the best towers ever created in the form of Mirror Jade, the Iceblade Dragon. It can remove a monster non-target, and that effect has a soft once per turn activation. It can also destroy all opponent's monsters the turn it was sent to the graveyard if it was on the field after it was fusion summoned. Mirror Jade was released in April 2022, and the game state has changed significantly in the 3.5-year span ever since. Not only is destruction lingering effect can be easily dodgeable in multiple different strategies, with the power creep of end boss monsters, it's getting them above its 3000 attack cap. Strategies like Lunalight and even Azamina can either go over him or simply killing you before resolving its war weapon. Not like it will matter anyways for many of them. It is about time that Branded adapts it if it wants to stay relevant to what other decks are capable. Stigmata Devouring Dragon is a viable and balanced, well-thought solution to this problem. Now, Stigmata Devouring Dragon can solve all of these, plus it gives the deck depth because it doesn't lose to Secretarian Dragon. It's the beast. Number 3, fusion summoning in opponent's turn 0. Yu-Gi-Oh card game has evolved exponentially since its popularity boom in the early 2000s. One of the mechanics that has received massive transformations is summoning monsters. Back then, most plays involved summoning a monster in your own turn and playing or setting spells and traps to protect, which will allow you to tribute monsters to normal summon an even more powerful monster. Special summoning was an unheard of, it's not so used way to win. Fast forward to 2022, and 99% of decks involve multiple special summoning mechanics, which allow them to gain advantage over their opponent. Some of these will take place even in your opponent's turn. Branded, example, will include fusion summoning to interrupt or downright preventing your opponent's special summon. In the current state of the game, the most dominant engines, K9, Krakatail, and Yummy all have multiple cards that allow them to interrupt the opponent in their opponent's turn by special summoning monsters with multiple cards. Taking in consideration, these all came from the same set and how available these are for players, meta has shaped itself drastically, and older decks struggle with at least one of these. Branded is no exception. The solution: to solve this, we need a monster that can interact by summoning monsters. Whether you can discard it and special summon itself, or a falling of Albas in deck, or an incredible Ecclesia, the later being the most likely to happen since that Stigmata Devouring Dragon already fulfills the shoes of a board breaking turn 0 special summon. Gizmic Uka provides a generic turn 0 special summoning, but has two requirements, can even be considered slow to today's standard. Gizmic Uka was released in 2020. Mind you, Vanquish all monsters have a quick effect for just special summoning themselves that provide interruptions. Canine monsters have the requirement of the opponent activating an in-hand or graveyard effect. Dracotail has just a quick effect for fusion summoning. All of these happen during the main phase and are somehow balanced. Branded could have monsters that require milling from the deck or the extra deck. It will allow us to fusion into Albas. It seems balanced to remove one or even two monsters from the opponent's field and getting a follow-up effect during the end phase. One thing to mention is that because of the current quickness of the game, cards like Retaliating Sea and Confronting Sea have become staples in some builds, and most of them have high rates of usage as they interact with a lot of the current meta strategies. Let's see what Konami is going to surprise us with, since it is almost certain the branded thrive when they don't focus on hand traps and can interrupt the best by breaking established boards or even boards in the making. The next one is Omni negates. Not all decks need an Omni negate to win, but most use at least one version. Whether it is restricting the opponent from using one or all monster effects, negating one, many, or all cards on their field, each strategy will try to cripple the opponent from playing the game one way or another. Branded, on its side, acts more like a toolbox that benefits from mechanics of the game. Is that using the extra deck, removal, using the graveyard, special summoning from deck, or special summoning from the hand, even special summoning from the graveyard. You need a normal summon, you need to search from the deck, and much more. So far, we have had two specific card negates and branded strategies, in the form of Branded Retribution and Brightest Blazing Branded Game. This without mentioning Tribegate and Courier, which will require an Albus Fusion on field to negate a monster effect. One will negate a special summoning effect, but will be included in each deck mainly because of its graveyard effect, which we already mentioned. The other one negates cards on the field as long as we can choose one Albus Fusion on the field and return it to the extra deck. In theory, this is a great effect. However, the build-up for taking it to use its full power, it's lackluster, considering how quick other strategies can dodge it or downright play through it. Having one counter in the trap list is already fine. Dracotail does pretty well with normal traps that are constantly set, used, and recycled with their fusion monster. I think Branded can do the same, but let's be honest, it might be too powerful because of the other cards surrounding the branded strategy. There is the Dragon's Breath Trap card, which is not a branded card on its own, but plays really well into the 60 card pile deck. But I think we can agree that the 60 card pile deck is not branded's best version right now. An Omni negate with the lights of branded retribution be just what branded needs to keep itself in check. The next card that branded needs is for bouncing cards to the hand. One of the most powerful board removal mechanics is returning cards to the hand. It reaches a new level when the effect does not have to target the card we need to bounce. Throughout decades of playing, this mechanic has proven very powerful. Rimbrum, the Striking Dragon, already does this for the deck. I don't think that we should leave this mechanic out of the equation, especially if we get into the form of a continuous spell or a trap card. Next is card destruction. Mirrorjade is an ace monster. Having to deal with the lingering effect, if they get rid of him, can easily become a pain for some decks. So do we need another monster that can destroy cards in the field? Well, think about the meta for a moment. Dracotel has different monsters that can pop cards without targeting, and they're part of their regular strategy. So does Vanquish Soul. Kanan has spells that can pop on target. And then we have strategies like Ryzeal and Yummy that even when targeting, enforce dominance over multiple interactions. Mirrorjade comes a little slow to match these. Adding an immediate pop is a great way to speed up Branded. The main strategy. Branded does not have any specific cards that can pop spells and trap other than Guardian Chimera. Yes, we have Chaos Star Source Dragon, but after the errata, a lot of players realized it had more value as a super poly target, and even its immediate destruction effect didn't compensate for its buildup. The next card the Branded needs is Banishing Effect. We're probably tired of seeing Mirrorjade here, but it is the deck's boss monster, and that is because it carries the weight of the deck ever since it came out. Sending a fusion monster to the graveyard to banish a card non-target is a powerful effect, even to today's standards. With Dimensional Shifter gone, graveyard effects decks thrive but may still side 3 Lancia against one of the best performing decks of the last year. The only reason I have this on the list is because Malice has multiple cards that can banish opponent's card. But don't forget the Primate engine, with this never-ending recycling of Drill Bean and Ether Barrel, which can basically banish any card in the opponent's side of the field. Adding one or more banish effect could also be a way to tip the balance for a more evenly matched. So there you have it. Konami has a blueprint of what they want the meta to become, and Branded has proven to be one of their most profitable assets because of how many stories tie in into what is the Branded complete set. We'll see if my predictions come true, but in the meantime, you can like the video and subscribe so we can see together if the powerful cards that Branded needs may come to become real. I'm Branded Player 23, and this was 7 cards that Branded needs to become meta relevant in 2026. See you in the next video.